Who do you have at 3 then, Case? I wonder
Yeah.
if we agree on this.
Number 3, keeping it in the same state, the Florida Panthers. I mean, we saw what they did in the playoffs. Obviously, they weren't the regular season team of last year or 2 years ago. They were. But when I look at this team, despite being a last-second playoff ad and then going to the finals, this team outscored the likes of Dallas, Tampa, Toronto, Colorado, LA, to name a few. And I think that the replacement of Duclair by Rodriguez and the continued growth of some of their younger guys like Luosterainen and Lundell and Denisenko, I think that they're going to be right up there again in terms of scoring, especially if Matthew Tkachuk can continue to have a monster year like last year. And then those kind of role-playing star players, whatever category they fit in, of Verhaeghe and Reinhart, there's a lot of goals to be scored on this team. And when I look at the back end, I think they've done an admirable job at filling the holes that injuries have caused in the back end. A lot of ads on the back end, and Kulikov and Mikkola and Mike Riley and OEL, who had 3 apples in the preseason game last night. They did a great job trying to plug the holes, but their 2 best defensemen are going to be missed until mid-December, and that's potentially 30 plus games. Their 30 game mark is December 16th. 30 games without the likes of Ekblad and Montour is going to significantly hurt this team at the beginning of the year, and that's why I knocked them down 1 spot. The only thing that stopped me from knocking them down 2 spots is the resiliency that they showed in the playoffs last year. And just knowing that that's within this team, they're obviously going to find ways to win enough games to get the 3rd spot in this division early on in this season.
Wow, I did not know that those 2 injuries were until mid-December. That news came out recently, and that's why I've waited so long to put my keepers in, because I have Montour, and it would be like a 16th round pick for me to keep him. Wait, so are you keeping Montour in the 16th round?
No. 15th round, but no, I'm not.
Really? Even though, in fantasy, it's kind of, you only need him for the playoffs. Seriously? You're not? Whatever. Yeah.
I've got other guys to keep. Man.
All right, that's fine. I'll pick him in the 13th round then, Case. I'll beat you to it.
Yeah, I'll pick him in the 12th.
Oh no. Speaking of, I have a fantasy draft tonight for my other league I'm really excited for, and then our draft on Sunday. Oh, I can't wait to get into fantasy hockey. But yeah, talking about Florida, that is the team I had in the number 2 spot. I didn't know that injury news, so that would have been important for me to look up before doing my rankings. I think I would have maybe bumped them down, and that would have changed my entire rankings. But when I look at this team up front, like you mentioned, they replaced Duclair with Erod, and they're deep. This team up front is the same but different slightly, and that's going to be all right. Think back to the start of last season when Matt Tkachuk was just coming in. They were still trying to work on how to figure that whole system out with Matt Tkachuk as the go-to guy. And as the season went on, they eventually did figure it out. The main problem was that they didn't have goaltending all year. You can talk about, and we have, about how their defense hasn't been very good in the past, especially without those 2 big name players, but goaltending was a big problem for them last season, so I don't expect it to be as bad this year. On the back end, you're losing Gudas, but you replace him with more offense in OEL, and I think that will be the best thing for OEL's career, being put into position, especially for those first few months of the season, where he feels like he's important again. And he's playing big minutes again. And I think that'll be great for his confidence and for his production too, being a go-to guy. And speaking of fantasy, that might be a player. I don't know who's going to quarterback their power play, but for the first couple months, that might be a guy who does it. So could be important for the first couple months of fantasy. And then on the back end, I alluded to it. Bobrovsky, all of a sudden, towards the end of the year, became the $10 million player that he is. I don't know if I'm banking on that throughout the entire season again, but we weren't banking on Alex Lyon coming in and winning 20 straight games to get them into the playoffs either. So this year they have Spencer Knight back full time after spending some time in the NHL's player assistance program.
I hope he comes back stronger. Like, really
and I think that tandem now will be even better than any goaltending they had at the end of last season, because it'll be a true tandem of two very capable guys. So I'm looking forward to that. That's why I had Florida at 2. That's, I guess, where I will keep them. But if I knew that injury stuff at the start, I might have moved them down. But number 2 sounds about, or number 3 rather, sounds about right, behind Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that solidifies our rankings. I think you're going to say the same thing. So.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly it. I had the Panthers at number 3, and that's the best spot for them. I think this is a huge year for Spencer Knight, but confident in him, and his talents, and being a young guy still, and just coming back fresh, and having that motivation to get going again and prove that he is the real deal after being a first round pick a few years back. And Sergei Bobrovsky, I think that he'll be motivated to continue what was some unbelievable play from him in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And again, like Case, you said it's a resilient group, and it's next man up. You've got a healthy Matthew Tkachuk coming in, who, again, I think is going to come out like a house on fire, and has established himself as one of the elite players in this league, and can go out and get 100 points every year. I wouldn't be surprised if that is what Matthew Tkachuk is moving forward. And so you may look at this team and think that, there's not a lot of depth here or whatever, but that they are a resilient group, and they can certainly score a lot of goals. Maturation from guys like Lundell and Luostarinen, who got an extension in the summer. A change of scenery for OEL, which I think is going to be huge for him. You guys know that I've been a big advocate for a guy like Gustav Forsling. I don't think that he gives enough credit. Mikkola is a monster as well, so you lose a guy like Gudis, but Mikkola certainly is aggressive back there, and you're going to miss Montour and Ekblad certainly, but who knows if Montour is going to be able to have a 73-point season again. He's a fantastic defenseman, but who knows if he's able to have a year like that again. And what you're missing in Ekblad, and certainly that's too bad, but I just think that this team is going to just carry over that momentum and that resiliency and that work ethic from what was an incredible run to the Stanley Cup Finals this past year, and I've got them at number 3 in this division.